So I figured that this might be my last video for a while where I talk about a Jurassic Park film or Jurassic World film. So I opted to wear my Jurassic Park dressing gown. Enjoy the video. My second review of Jurassic World Dominion. So, I've seen Jurassic World Dominion twice now, and I still do not like this movie, and it pains me to say that, it really does, because this was my second most anticipated movie for 2022. Going into 2022 in the new year, this was my second most anticipated movie. My first was The Batman, because I seen the trailer and I thought that movie looked amazing. And then it was Jurassic World Dominion, because I'm a fan of this franchise. I'm a fan of the Jurassic franchise overall. I still kind of am. Like, I absolutely love to pieces the first Jurassic Park movie. It's one of my favourite films of all time. And it just, each time I watch that movie, it just gets better and better. And I even really love The Lost World as well, because I think it's the perfect Jurassic Park sequel. I don't care what anyone says, I think that movie is fantastic. But then you go to Jurassic Park 3, and there's some diamonds in the rough in Jurassic Park 3. I like seeing Alan Grant back, and there's some good parts, like the whole pterodactyl sequence, and seeing the Spinosaurus, and that was kind of like a nice new addition, but at the same time though, ultimately Jurassic Park 3 wasn't a great film, I've got to admit. But then I enjoyed Jurassic World. I remember seeing that in the cinema back in 2015 and really liking that movie. I was going along with that, a huge grin on my face in the cinema, and I came out movie, you know, with a skipping my step, because I really liked that movie overall, and I still watch it now because it's fun. Sure, it's got some big plot holes, but ultimately, whenever I watch Jurassic World, I have a good time with it. And then there's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and I've spoken about my thoughts on this film quite a few times on this channel before, because it's always kind of mixed. Like, I remember going to watch Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the movie before this one, the previous film in the Jurassic franchise before this new one. I remember going and watching it at the cinema back in 2018, and I remember coming out of it absolutely loving it. I couldn't believe how good it was. But now when I rewatch Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I have a very different viewing experience. Maybe I was just like building up in my head and I just couldn't see past the plot hole the first time I watched it. I don't know. Maybe I was just overcome by what I was watching and something happened. And maybe I was just on a good day. Maybe I was on a good day, which is why I like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom so much the first time I saw it. But since then, I still enjoy about half of that movie. I still enjoy the first half of that film. But then the second half, where they do like the Indoraptor and they do genetically engineered dinosaur again, I just get bored. And that's a shame to say, but it's the truth. But one thing I did absolutely love with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was the setup for the third film. I thought that was absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't wait to see the third movie, because from the setup of the last movie, it looked like it was going to be dinosaurs all around the world, trampling the earth, you know, going into landmarks and destroying famous places. That's what I thought it was going to be about. But no, it isn't. And that's why this movie failed. That's why Jurassic World Dominion failed. Because it doesn't follow the premise that the second film set up. And instead, it just does the original Jurassic Park idea all over again. I would have loved for it to do something new and fresh and just do something different than what we've seen before. But in the end, it just does what we've already seen this franchise do in Jurassic World and the first Jurassic Park, and that really annoys me. I didn't mind it in Jurassic World because, in my opinion, Jurassic World is a perfect example of how you make a Jurassic Park / Jurassic World sequel 14 years later after Jurassic Park 3. It's how you softly reboot the franchise. But now, oh god, I don't understand why they're going back to the original Jurassic Park idea all over again. Like, I know there's some differences. I know that the Biosyn Park that we see in this movie isn't the same as the Eyes New Park that we see from the first Jurassic Park movie. I know that it's not open, I know there's meant to be a sequel and things like that, so it's different than the park we see in Jurassic World. But at the same time though, you know, on the surface, it's basically the same idea. There's not many new aspects about it. And it's just about all the main characters of the movie being, you know, close knit together in this claustrophobic space with all these dinosaurs. It's just the same idea from the first Jurassic Park and the first Jurassic World movie. And again, I didn't mind it in Jurassic World because I think it kind of made sense, and also they kind of added a new twist on it. But at the same time, they didn't just do a complete rehash of the original Jurassic Park idea. They tried to add their own new and unique twist to it. And for some people it worked, for some people who didn't. Personally, I enjoy that first Jurassic World still. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I enjoy the first Jurassic World. I don't care what anyone says. I think it's a really fun film. But this movie doesn't do anything new and fresh for the whole original Jurassic Park idea all over again. It doesn't. In fact, it just relies so much on fan service and so much on memorable moments from the previous Jurassic movies to try and get you to like this movie. Like it refers to them in this movie, and it just really annoys me that. It really does. And by the way, I should say here, just a side note again, I don't know if you noticed, but I still have hay fever quite bad right now. That's why I might be sounding a bit different, because I've still got bad hay fever. And also, sorry if you can hear some like sound effects in the background. There's some work happening across the road from where I'm doing this review. I literally record my reviews and whatnot right next to the main road, and there's some work going on across the main road from where I do this review. So I do apologise if there's some sound interference in the background. But I'm going to carry on with this review, because it shouldn't be in the original Jurassic Park idea. It really shouldn't have been. And in the end, it should have been like an apocalyptic movie. And maybe the script changed. Maybe the script changed because, I don't know, the pandemic happened. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the script changed. And originally the idea was to do that, but then they couldn't do that because of the pandemic, and they could only shoot in like one location because of COVID restrictions. Like, I do know that the film was shot at the height of COVID, but at the same time though, I don't know why why do they do this all over again? It really annoys me now, and that's one of the reasons it failed. You know, I've seen the movie twice now, and I do think that it was a bit more enjoyable the second time, but ultimately, it's still not a good film. And that pains me to say, because I really wanted it to be so much better. And like, you watch that setup for the third film at the end, Fallen Kingdom, and I get so excited. And then you watch the trailers for this movie, and the trailers are showcasing we're going to go all over the world, dinosaurs all over the world now, and we're going to try and coexist in this movie. That's what the movie's going to be about. But they kind of touch on that in the film, they do, but not enough. Like, spoilers here if you haven't seen the film. Spoilers, in case you haven't seen the film here. Spoiler alerts! But anyway, yes. Basically, they do kind of touch on the idea that, you know, dinosaurs and humans are coexisting in this world now. And I do like that they do that, but I don't like how they do that. I like that they did it, I just didn't like the execution. Like, in the first 10 minutes of the movie, you see all this video footage of, you know, people coexisting with dinosaurs. And you see this wedding happening, and they see, like, the bouquet of flowers at this wedding being taken by a pterodactyl. I'm like, great, but would weddings still be happening? No. The streets would be apocalyptic. People would be hiding inside. It'd be like this. It'd be like The World in a Quiet Place movies. That's what it'd be like. It wouldn't be like people just living their normal lives like nothing has happened. You know, there'll be T-Rexes roaming the streets. There'll be Velociraptors roaming the streets as well. It'll be like, you know, the Velociraptors in the Lost World, where they just roam all about the island and just kill people willy-nilly. That's what it would be like. But no. Apparently people just got used to it. It's been a couple of years or so after the events of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, so people just got used to the idea of dinosaurs out in the wild. No, that doesn't make any sense. That shouldn't be what has happened here. And also, towards the end of the movie, you can see that, you know, dinosaurs are now coexisting more openly in the wild with other animals, like with horses and with whales. Like you see Mosasaurus in the sea, you know, coexisting, you know, living there. We're living with whales in the sea, which is kind of cool and things like that. And you can also see horses, you know, running across land with dinosaurs, which is kind of cool. And the shot's kind of cool towards in the movie. Hoping that's what I'm talking about there. The shot's been the trailer, actually. But yeah, you see that happening towards in the movie. But the thing is, like, that premise isn't explored enough. It's just kind of like the writer sat down and went, well, the dinosaurs and the animals and the humans are going to coexist now. That's how the Earth's going to work. That's not how it would work. That's not how it would work. That's the whole point of the previous 5 Jurassic movies. When the dinosaurs get into the humans, they eat them. That's the point of the previous 5 movies in this franchise. That's literally the point of the first one. The second one, you see a T-Rex go to San Diego and eat people. And, you know, one T-Rex in that in the Lost World, and one T-Rex goes to San Diego and kills lots of people in the Lost World. Imagine what it's going to be like, you know, further down the line, all these years later, in the events of this movie. And like, we don't really know what it's like. I just don't understand how that kind of happened in Jurassic Park 3. You see more dinosaurs eat people in Jurassic World. You see more dinosaurs eat people in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. The dinosaurs get let loose, and you see more dinosaurs eat people. You get the point. In all these movies, the dinosaurs are being about eating people. That's the point of these movies overall. But here, okay, yes, you see dinosaurs eat people, which is another point, by the way. There's no stakes in this movie, but you do see a couple of deaths of the characters, and you do see dinosaurs eat people, but not enough. And I know that sounds like a silly criticism, But when you set up the end of the last movie with dinosaurs out in the wild, out in the open, you're expecting there to be loads of deaths, dinosaurs killing people willy-nilly, like I said, like the T-Rex does at the end of Lost World Jurassic Park. But that's not what happens, is it? It's not what happens in this movie. And going on to the point I was starting to make before, there's no stakes in this film, and I really thought there would be. Like, I really thought this film was going to kill off some big characters. I thought that Jeff Goldblum might die. I thought that Sam Neill might die. I even thought that Chris Pratt might die in this movie, at least the characters they played anyway. But the thing is, though, they don't. No character dies in the movie. Okay, Dodgson dies. Dodgson. I mean, why was Dodgson in this movie? I don't even know what the character is. Dodgson? I'm going to call him Dodgson. But I don't even know why was he in this movie to start off with. Like, this very small character from the first Jurassic Park who gives Dennis all the things to do in the first movie, in the franchise, comes back here all these years later, and it's like, what? It's like, do you remember the scene where he's introduced in the first movie? You probably won't even remember because he's not a memorable character. But in the first movie, you get Dodgson giving all this information to Dennis, and then, Dennis says his name really loudly, and then Dodgson's like, don't say my name, man. And Dennis like, Dodgson, Dodgson, look, we've got Dodgson here. See, nobody cares. That's what I feel like in this movie. I feel like Dennis, Dodgson, Dodgson, we've got Dodgson here. See, nobody cares. Nobody cares if Dodgson's in this movie. It's like, what's the point? It's literally like getting Watto back in a future Star Wars movie. No one would know who he really is unless you're a big Star Wars fan. Like, I know who Watto is, that's why I made that reference there. But it's literally that point that I'm making. You got Watto back in a future Star Wars movie, no one would care whatsoever. And it's the same thing here. Getting Dodgson back, that brief character that appeared, in a total of, I think, a minute and a half in the first Jurassic Park, comes back here as the main bad guy. Why? Because we can. Which is another point about this movie, which I'll get onto a bit later. But going back on the whole thing with stakes, no character really dies in this film. I was expecting there to be more deaths, but I've seen this movie twice now, and I kind of have the same problem with that I do with Top Gun Maverick. Like, spoilers for Top Gun Maverick here, in case you haven't seen that movie yet. But if you haven't, the movie's been out for 3 weeks, making loads of money, by the way. But, if you haven't seen Top Gun Maverick yet, I do apologise, but I'm going to get some spoilers for that movie as well. But the thing is, on Top Gun Maverick, there's a brilliant twist towards the end of the movie, or at least towards, the last half an hour of the movie, where you think that Tom Cruise's character has died. You think that Maverick has died in that film, and then it turns out that he hasn't. And that kind of ruined my enjoyment of that movie overall. Because even so, I do still like Top Gun Maverick. I think it's a really fun film. Ultimately, I don't think it's as good as everyone says, because it kind of goes back on the daring twist I thought the film was taking within itself. And actually, this film kind of has that same problem. It doesn't kill any characters. And so when you're watching it a second time, like, oh, I know Chris Pratt easily gets out of this. I know that, I don't know, Jeff Goldblum easily gets out of this. I know Bryce Dallas Howard character easily gets out of this, and so on and so on and so on. I know these characters easily get out of these situations. Why is that the case? Because we can. Because we're going to keep all these characters alive, because we don't even want to kill any off, because we're not that daring enough, because we're playing everything safe. Everything's played too safe in this movie, and I spoke about this in my first review of the film, but so much of this film doesn't feel original, and the things that do feel original feel tedious. And that's the problem as well. Like, all this stuff with Locust. I'm not going to go on about the Locust stuff, because you've probably seen so many other film reviews talk about this film, talk about the Locust in this movie, because it's unbelievable why they went the Locust storyline. I don't understand that. I understand that I understand what they're trying to do there, but at the same time, though, I still don't understand the Locust storyline, really. I was about to try and make sense of it just then, but I still don't understand it, and I've seen the movie twice now, and that really, really annoys me. And at the same time, though, I wanted more characters to die. Why didn't Chris Pratt's character die? Why didn't Bryce Dallas Howard's character die? Why didn't any of the original cast die? Do something then, say all about Star Wars sequels again, and I'm comparing them both, because they both bring back legacy characters from the past movies. Say all about Star Wars sequels, but at least they're dead enough to kill off those characters that we've known from the past movies. In The Force Awakens, spoilers here if you don't know already, but in The Force Awakens, Han Solo dies. That's a daring twist, but there's no daring twist here. Why didn't they kill off Sam Neill? I don't want to kill off Sam Neill. I wouldn't have wanted to kill off Alan Grant, but why didn't they? Because I do think that's a better, sort of a device of storytelling. If you kill off a certain character, it brings the stakes higher. But in the end, the only character I can think who dies in this movie, it's Dodgson, because he's the villain. And the villain always dies in these Jurassic movies. Whether it's the first film, you got Dennis dying. But at the same time, the first film also has other characters die who, good characters in that movie. Samuel Jackson character died in that movie. And at the same time, another lawyer dies in that movie. And, you know, at the same time, though, the guy who hunts the raptors dies in that first movie as well. You know, the guy goes, clever girl, at the beginning. I forgot what the character's name is now, but he dies in the first Jurassic film. In The Lost World, you got Richard Schiff's character die, Eddie. You know, he dies as he's trying to save his friends from dangling off the trail of the cliff and things like that. He died from the hands of the two T-Rexes in that great sequence. And also Ludlow dies because he's the main villain in that movie. And then in Jurassic Park 3, though, from what I can remember, one character dies. That's another reason I don't really like Jurassic Park 3, but still, Jurassic Park 3, characters die. Jurassic Park 3, from what I can remember, does kill some characters. I'm going to admit it's quite an unmemorable film. But then Jurassic World kills off some characters. That woman who was looking after the two kids in that movie, she dies. Hoskins dies. Hoskins is the main villain of Jurassic World. He dies. And at the same time, though, you know, there's deaths in Jurassic World. Quite a few characters die. You know, the guy that Irfan Khan plays, the character that Irfan Khan plays, he dies in that film. In Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the main villain dies in the film, played by Ray Sparrow. He dies in that movie. And at the same time, though, you see other characters die in the movie. You see the guy who's going on the island to hunt down the velociraptors. You see him down the movie. Hopefully I'm making sense of the point I'm trying to make. Characters die in the past Jurassic movies. Maybe not as much as you want them to, but there's characters that die, and that brings the stakes higher. But there's no stakes in the movie because you know all the main characters survive. And I would have loved Colin Trevorrow to take a daring twist. You know, Colin Trevorrow direct to the movie, co-write the movie as well, to take a daring twist and go, kill off one of these characters, because that would have been something really unique. And like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. And when you're watching it again, unlike the first Jurassic Park movie, unlike The Lost World, when you're watching this film again, you sit there and go, well, I know this character gets out of that. I know this character gets out of this. I know this character gets out of that. And yes, you could say that argument with the first few Jurassic movies to a certain degree, but at the same time though, the stakes are still high when you're watching those films. And there's just something about some of those sequences in those movies where even so you know certain characters survive, it's still kind of edgy to see, you know, will they survive? It's like edgy to see intensity, will they actually survive? It's quite suspenseful. But at the same time though, here it's not. The dinosaur sequences are so boring to watch. They really are. And I hate using that phrase and trying to boring, but it's the truth. Like, the film opens with this action sequence with Chris Pratt's character, Owen, and he's on this horse. And by the way, it did not look like he was riding that horse whatsoever. But the film opens with him riding this horse in the snow, trying to capture dinosaurs. And the dinosaur CGI is really poor, by the way, in that sequence. And it just, I don't know, it wasn't exciting. And actually, that sequence wasn't even the opening action sequence. The opening action sequence was, you know, Claire and those two scientists, those two young scientists from the second Jurassic World film, you know, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, come back here and they're trying to save that young Triceratops. And again, it's a really underwhelming action sequence. It really is. It's all shot at night. It's kind of like a secret agent, kind of like they're smuggling to save the young Triceratops. And I was like, why should I care about any of this? And it's just, the action sequence is really badly done in the first couple, you know, in the first 20 minutes of the film. And at the same time, they get worse as the film goes on. Like, there's one really good action sequence in the film, which I will go on to a bit later, which is the motor sequence, which I think is absolutely brilliant. That's my favourite part of the movie. But then the sequences towards the end, the sequences where like the plane gets taken down, is just so anticlimactic because it doesn't feel exciting enough, and it just, the CGI on the plane looks terrible. Like, the CGI in this movie, by the way, is rubbish. It was, the first time it didn't bother me that much, but then the second time it bothered me a lot more, which I'll get onto again a bit later in this video. But like, none of the action sequences feel exciting enough, because the brilliant thing about the action in the first few Jurassic Park movies is they don't always rely on the dinosaurs. Sometimes it was just like on the aftermath of the dinosaurs, like in the first Jurassic Park movie, where the car is falling down through the tree and you have Grant and Timmy trying to get to the bottom of the tree before it's too late and the car flattens them. That's a really good sequence which involves no dinosaurs. There's other examples of that, like where Timmy is hanging onto the bars and if he hangs on too long, he's going to get electrocuted. Again, a great sequence which doesn't involve dinosaurs in the first Jurassic Park movie. Don't get me wrong, the first Jurassic Park movie has some great dinosaur sequences, like the hoax of the velociraptors in the kitchen, which is brilliant, but at the same time though, it's also got sequences which don't just rely on the dinosaurs, it relies on the aftermath of what the dinosaurs have done, which is the reason it works. Same with The Lost World, to varying degrees. I will admit The Lost World does rely a lot more on dinosaur action, but in The Lost World, you know, you have that sequence where, you know, Julianne Moore's character, Vince Vaughn's character, and Jeff Goldblum's character, Ian Malcolm, all hanging on the trailer, which is hanging off the cliff, and then Richard Schiff's character is trying to save them. But again, dinosaurs aren't really involved in that sequence to the end. So you see the two T-Rexes come out and eat Richard Schiff's character, which is like one of my favourite moments in that movie, by the way, which is one of my favourite moments in the Jurassic franchise. But when that happens, it's really good. But the majority of that sequence does not rely on dinosaur action. It just relies on will they actually be able to get off this cliff and actually get to safety. It's a great sequence which doesn't rely on the dinosaurs. But the problem is, in this movie, all the action sequences rely on the dinosaurs. There's no action sequences which just rely on the humans trying to stay safe, which is a problem. It's a big problem in this film, and like, I don't know why the action is so lackluster for the most part. I really don't. Because even the action in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, a movie that I'm not too fond of, I remember quite enjoying. But the action in this movie, oh god, it really isn't that good. And I was really disappointed by it. And like, quite a few of the action sequences as well. It's like, you remember this part from the first Jurassic Park movie? Remember this part from Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World? You remember this part from Jurassic Park 3? Remember this part from Jurassic World? Remember this part from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? Which you actually quite liked. What we're doing again here. That's what it kind of feels like. And like, the fan service in this movie is suffocating. It's suffocating. Like, there was fan service in the first Jurassic World, and I thought it was fine in that movie because it was a soft reboot, much like Ghostbusters Afterlife, and much like Star Wars Force Awakens. I thought fan service worked in Jurassic World because it made sense in that movie. But here, the fan service is suffocating. It really is. And you're watching and going, okay, there's a sequence in this movie where you see the T-Rex fight the Gigantosaurus, whatever it's called, the other big dinosaur. And it's like, oh, it's just like the T-Rex fight with the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3. Okay, that only, like, decent moment in that movie, but we're referring to again here. Why? Because we can. And at the same time, though, there's a scene in the movie where, you know, Jeff Goldblum's character is doing up his shirt and things like that. And it's like, oh, because, you know, that was a one moment in the first Jurassic Park movie, we saw Jeff Goldblum's character with his shirt off, and it's like, it's become a bit of a meme now. And at the same time, we see Owen trying to get the young Velociraptor back, and he has him on his shoulder at one point, and it's literally like when they're trying to get the young T-Rex back to the mother T-Rex in the Lost World Jurassic Park and the whole San Diego sequences. And at the same time, there's a sequence in the movie where Chris Pratt's character and all my size characters are trying to get the Velociraptor to get into this carrier, and it's like they're holding up like that, like they do in the first Jurassic World movie. It's like, oh, we're doing it again here, just like we did in the first Jurassic World movie, just like that scene in the first Jurassic World movie where you see Chris Pratt, you know, dealing with the dinosaurs. We're doing that again here in this film, and hopefully making sense. I don't know if I am, but so much of the film just doesn't feel original, and the things that do feel original feel tedious and boring to watch. And like the Host of Locust, that's original, that's fine, but it feels rubbish to watch. And all the stuff that's not original is just suffocating fan service, because we know people love this moment from the first Jurassic Park. Maybe we're going to do it again here because we can. The fan service in this film, it's just suffocating and annoying, and it just really doesn't do anything, and that really annoyed me. It really did. And also, why was there new characters in the film? Why were there new characters in this movie? Like, you got that one character introduced to, you know, the woman who's flying the plane, and I really didn't like her, because her character back in this movie is like, oh, I've lost my plane, by the end of the movie, I get it back. Spoiler alert there, if you didn't know already, but that's literally her plotline from the film, and that really annoyed me, that character. At the same time that we introduced that new scientist as well, I don't understand why he was in there, and Dodgson the villain, why? I don't understand things like that. I don't understand the decisions which were made with the characters in the movie. Why didn't they bring more, you know, why didn't they bring more legacy characters back? Why not bring back the kids from the first movie? You know, they're grown up now, but they've always spoke about the fact that they're open to return to this franchise. Why not bring back, you know, Malcolm's daughter from the Lost World? I don't know. Why not bring back the kid from Jurassic Park 3 who gets lost on the island? Why not bring back, you know, William H. Macy from Jurassic Park 3? I'm not saying that's a good idea, but why not? Why not bring back the kids from Jurassic World? I don't know. Why not? I mean, I understand this film was shot at the height of COVID and maybe didn't have the opportunity because they're going to have so much actors on set, but still, you know, they should have pulled out stops with this movie. They really should have. Get more stock characters back. I don't know. To make it feel more like a conclusion than adding just random new characters in here and making this film just feel like another film in the Jurassic franchise overall. Because that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like a conclusion. Because you don't have returning characters in the previous movies, apart from the original three, which is, you know, great to see. But at the same time, though, you don't have other original cast members coming back. So kind of like, why? Why are we doing that? Why are we pulling the stops more? And I don't know. It annoys me that this film doesn't feel like a conclusion. It really does. Because, oh, God, it should have. And by the way, I'm going to take this off now because I'm getting a bit sweaty. But one thing I just want to show people before I discard of this dressing gown is, there you go, you have the original Jurassic Park logo on the back of the best Jurassic Park movie still today, because, man alive, this movie is so bad. But yes, this film doesn't feel like a conclusion. It just feels like another film in the Jurassic franchise, and that annoys me. That, you know, the things that I spoke about in that video I made over 2 weeks ago about why I'm not as excited for this movie as I want to be, is because I wanted the film to feel like a conclusion, and I was worried that it wasn't going to be. My worries came true, annoyingly. The film doesn't feel like a conclusion. It just feels like another film in this franchise, and I didn't want it to, because there was so much opportunity to make this like a proper epic conclusion, have dinosaurs roaming all over the earth, and I theorised in that video that I made a couple of weeks ago about why I'm not excited for Jurassic World Dominion as I wanted to be. I theorised in that video that by the end of the movie, dinosaurs would inherit the earth and all the humans would be dead. I was so far off my theory. I don't care if my theories come true, like TV shows or films or not. I don't really care about things like that. But that's how the movie should have ended when you think about it like that. When you think about that. Because that's how you properly end the Jurassic franchise. Because they brought back dinosaurs they shouldn't have, and so they paid the price. That's how this franchise should have ended. But I'm honestly thinking now that the franchise hasn't ended. I'm thinking that they could do more movies in the future. I don't want them to, but I'm thinking that they could because they've left the door open. Kite is still alive. Chris Pratt's character is still alive. Bradford Howard's character is still alive. Laura Dern's character is still alive. Sam Neill's character is still alive. And Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum's character is still alive as well. All these characters are still alive. They've left it open, so for all I know, they could be making more films in this franchise. And I hate that. I'm not excited for the future of this franchise anymore. And that's saying something. That's saying a lot because I really was looking forward to the film so much. It was my second most anticipated film of the year. It really was. I can't emphasise that enough. It was. I know I've been doing live streams recently, but if I was doing live streams, I would have been speaking about how much I was excited to see this film. But that's not the case. It's not. It doesn't feel like a conclusion. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they make another film in this franchise about 5 to 10 years later. And when they do, I'll watch it because it's a Jurassic movie, but I don't expect it to be any good. Because it'll just be another cash grab. And I know all these Jurassic World movies and all these Jurassic Park sequels as well have been cash grabs. I mean, even the first Jurassic Park is a cash grab. No one made that movie expecting it to not make any money. But at the same time, though, those cash grabs can still be good films. I hate all these people nowadays who go, well, Star Wars is rubbish because it's made by Disney, and Jurassic World is rubbish because it's made by Universal. They just made it for cash grabs and things like that. That's a rubbish excuse to not like something. Because everyone's favourite franchises now are funded by big studio conglomerates. So it's fine that they're still going with them. I'm not bothered about that. Because you can still make good movies. Star Wars Force Awakens, Star Wars Last Jedi, which I both really enjoy. And Rogue One and Star Wars Story were made under the banner of Disney Star Wars. And the first Jurassic World movie was made under the banner of Universal. As a cash grab, yes, definitely. But still, a lot of fun to watch. So I hate when people are going about that. But anyway, that's not really about the movie. That's kind of me going on a tangent there, but anyway, get the point. I'm rambling on a bit because I'm not feeling that well, so it's like thoughts coming out of my head, but I'm going to ramble on anyway because I'm disappointed. But at the same time, though, I do always like to focus on the positives. I'm going to talk more about my disappointment, don't get me wrong, I will be doing much later in this video, but I also want to talk about the good things. The good things about this film. I think the sequence in Motor is great because that offers what the film should have been about. You see velociraptors out in the streets, what they call atrociraptors in the movie, like genetically engineered velociraptors, something like that. But still, it's cool to see dinosaurs out on the streets and things like that, and see dinosaurs eating people, and that's what the film should have really been like. The film should have been, Owen and Claire, Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt's characters teaming up with the original cast to try and save all the people from being eaten by dinosaurs all over the world. But no, that's not what the film is about. But that's what the film should have been about, and that's what the Motor sequence kind of offers you. You also see that people are kind of using dinosaurs to trade, like underground trade and things like that. And again, that makes sense in this new world that the film has established. I thought that was great, and I do think the action in that sequence is exciting. It's just kind of weird that the action elsewhere in the movie is really not that good. But the action in that sequence is fun to watch, and it's got a lot of energy there, and I really like the way it was done. And at the same time, though, I like the fact that they clearly use more animatronic, like model dinosaurs in this movie. Although I will say that made the unfinished CGI more obvious. Like the CGI in this film, I think is like the worst CGI in the Jurassic franchise today. And that's saying something, because I actually think the CGI in the first two Jurassic movies is much better. But here we are in 2022, and the CGI isn't up to date. But yeah, the CGI in this movie was pretty bad. But I did like the fact that they used more animatronic dinosaurs. I like that they did that. And by the way, sorry if you can hear some sawing in the background. There's some work being done across the road again. I do apologise. But yes, I do like the fact they used more animatronic dinosaurs in the movie, they clearly did. Although they did make the CGI, more obvious. Ultimately, I like the fact they used more animatronic dinosaurs because it just, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of the way they used kind of animatronic dinosaurs in the first couple of Jurassic Park movies, and they do it again here. So I liked that they did that. I didn't love that they did that. I thought it was kind of cool, but I didn't think it was going to make the film any better. Also, you can clearly see that the actors are trying to give it their all. I don't think Chris Pratt is that good in this movie though, because I don't feel he's been given much to do. And I also don't feel that Bryce Dallas Howard is at her best either, because she hasn't been given much to do either. Honestly, what are those character arcs all through all three of these movies? What are their arcs through Jurassic World to Jurassic World Dominion? I don't know. Like, did they become parents? Is that their arcs? Because in the end of this movie, they kind of become parents to Clone Girl. Which, by the way, I'm not going to talk about the Clone Girl storyline, but I didn't really like that whatsoever. But I already spoke about that in my first review of this film. But yes, I don't really understand what their character arcs were over all three of the Jurassic World movies. But nevertheless, they're not terrible in this film. I just don't think they're particularly good. But they're trying to give their all with the scripts they've got. Also, like I said before, it was nice to see the original cast back, whether it was Sam Neill, Laura Dern, or Jeff Goldblum. They're all giving their all in this movie. Although I must admit, I do feel like Sam Neill and Laura Dern weren't at their best, but they were still fun to watch. I still like watching this movie, and I do feel Jeff Goldblum is doing this classic Ian Malcolm thing when he makes wits and he talks about how right he is all the time, things like that. I like the way he plays Malcolm in the movie. Kind of mind the way he plays Malcolm in the first Jurassic Park movie, the best version of Malcolm. Even so, I do quite enjoy the Lost World Jurassic Park still. I do admit that the version we get of Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum's character in the second Jurassic Park movie, is much different than the version we get of him in the first movie. But ultimately, I still enjoy both versions of him. But it is much more similar in this movie than it is in the first movie, and I kind of like that. And, the new cast are giving it their all. But at the same time, though, they don't have much to work with. And, the scriptures aren't that great. But, in the end, the actors are trying their best. And also, I like the fact that Blue storyline, that Velociraptor that, Chris Pratt's character Owen was taking care of. I love the fact that that raptor returned to her and he's got like a baby raptor now. I like the whole idea. And I like the story of the baby raptor. I liked seeing it and things like that. And I thought that was fine. Again, didn't really add much to me, but I liked that it was in there. And I do like that they carried on with Blue's storyline. And I like that you still see that Owen has a connection with Blue. I still like that because it has been key in the past few Jurassic World movies. And I don't fully understand why Blue was just hanging out around where Owen and Claire were living at the start of the movie. I don't fully understand that. But still, it was nice to see Blue back. And at the same time, though, the musical score by Michael Giacchino is great. I do wish, I already spoke about this in my first review of this film, so I'm not going to speak about it much again here, but I do wish that we got more of the original Jurassic Park themes, dun 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 dun, or whether it's, bum 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 ba-da-dum ba-dum bum bum. I do wish we got more of those themes, but I do think the new themes that Michael Giacchino's come up with this movie are very good, and I do think that overall, this is probably his best score of the Jurassic World films. I really love his scores for the first Jurassic World and the second Jurassic World, but I do think his score for this movie is pretty damn fantastic. And the fact that it was made on COVID conditions as well is even better in my opinion. Like, I can't imagine how hard it is to record a score for a movie under COVID conditions, but they did a great job here. I don't really like his score. I just would like to have more original Jurassic Park themes, but I spoke about this before in my previous review of this film. I don't think that's down to him. I'm not criticising Michael Giacchino that, because in the end, a musical score is what a director wants in the film, and Colin Trevorrow probably spoke to him and said, actually, no, we don't want any of the original Jurassic Park themes in this film, or, not as much anyway, because they are in there, but faintly in the background in a couple of moments. So it's probably Colin Trevorrow's decision there not to have the original Jurassic Park themes used in this movie that much. But still, overall, I like Michael Giacchino's score. I think it works for the film, and there's some good cinematography in there, some good shots with the dinosaurs when they're coexist with the animals, and there's some nice spectacle as well. If you're going to movie spectacle, you'll like that. And there is some fun moments like the motor sequence. Again, they keep going about the motor sequence because it's the only sequence I really liked in this film. Because honestly, just so much of it annoys me. It really does. Like, just the CGI looks so unfinished when I watched it yesterday. And I spoke about this in my first review of the film. But this film was finished in November of 2021. It was in the can of November of 2021. Why was it rushed? Why was it finished so many months before the film actually got released? I don't know. And that just annoys me, things like that. And everything in this movie really annoys me. Like, the writing is annoying as well. Like, the fact that Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler get back together, but it doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel earned. Like, again, say all about the first Jurassic World, but when Owen and Claire get back together in that movie, it feels earned, in my opinion. And here it doesn't. Honestly, it kind of feels like fan fiction. It kind of feels like in the past, Colin Trevorrow, who's clearly a big Jurassic Park fan, by the way, clearly a big Jurassic Park fan, because he recreates many scenes from the first Jurassic Park in this movie, and he did in the first Jurassic World as well, which he also directed. But it does kind of feel like Colin Trevorrow, you know, in the past, wrote some fan fiction regarding the characters of Jurassic Park post events of that movie, and then he kind of reused that fan fiction here. Again, that's kind of what it feels like from my perspective, but I don't really like that. And just, oh god. Just the movie annoys me because the trailers lied to me. The trailers indicated that it was going to be an apocalyptic dinosaur movie. And I remember seeing one of those trailers, whether it was a teaser trailer, whether it was an official trailer, I can't remember, but I remember seeing a trailer for this movie which had a T-Rex coming in behind a driving movie theatre and everyone screaming and running away from it. That scene isn't in this film. Where was it? Just, why did the trailers lie to us? I wanted this movie to be an apocalyptic dinosaur movie, and I wasn't building it up in my head. I'd seen the trailers, and that's what the trailers were indicating. But no, they just do the original Jurassic Park idea all over again, because why? We haven't seen it done before, and we have! And there's been so much fun in the World movie as well. Like, you name a dinosaur, it's probably in this film. That's the case. You name a dinosaur, it's probably in this film. And again, that annoys me even more, and also, just everything is just mind-boggling in this film. Like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? Why they made that decision? Because we can. It's a final Jurassic film, and like I said before, it does feel like a group of writers sat in a room together like, what haven't we seen in Jurassic film yet? Oh, we're going to put it again here. And that really annoys me. There's a sequence where Grant, Ellie, and Maisie Lockwood are all going through the mines together, and they keep seeing dinosaurs. And again, it's a fine sequence. It doesn't really add much to the overall narrative of the film, but it's a fine sequence in the film overall. But again, it does kind of feel like throwing things at the wall. We're going to do this again. We're going to do this again. There's some nice set pieces when they do throw things at the wall, but ultimately, oh god, it just really annoys me. It really does, because I was looking forward to this film so much. And I do wonder what Steven Spielberg thinks of it, by the way. Like, I actually don't know if you've seen the film yet. It might have come out and said to me by the time this video comes out. I don't know. I'm recording this now on Wednesday. So by the time I actually pull this video on YouTube, maybe he said to me, I don't know. But I do wonder what Spielberg, who made such a brilliant movie in the first Jurassic Park, he made such a good movie in The Lost World, thinks of this film. Because he is an executive producer. But there you go. And I should say, by the way, I should do a ranking here. I do my ranking of all six Jurassic Park movies. Almost forgot this one existed there, but yes. I'll do my ranking here. So after my ranking of all 6 Jurassic Park movies, now I've seen them all, I'd say that at number 1 is the original Jurassic Park, and number 2 is the Lost World Jurassic Park, and number 3 is Jurassic World, and number 4 I'd say is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and number 5 I'd say Jurassic Park 3, and number 6, we're doing a great job, is Jurassic World Dominion. That's my ranking. Number 1, the original Jurassic Park, number 2, the Lost World, number 3, Jurassic World, number 4, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, number 5, Jurassic Park 3, and at number 6, this movie. Well done, Jurassic World Dominion. Well done. You've made it to the bottom of the list of my rankings of all 6 Jurassic World / Jurassic Park movies. Well done. It's absolutely terrible. It's so messy. The filmmaking is shoddy. Like, the editing in some sequences is actually quite laughable. The CGI is laughable as well. There's no character arcs. I'm not sure why certain characters came back. Like, don't be wrong, I love seeing the original cast come back in this movie, but why? Why are they back? There's no solid reason for them coming back, other than the fact because we can, because we wanted to, so we can. And I do honestly think that the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World movies should have finished with the first Jurassic World movie. I mean, they weren't going to, because the first Jurassic World movie made over $1 billion. It's one of the most highest-grossing films of all time. It's in like the top 10 or the top 15. It made loads of money. So obviously they weren't going to finish with Jurassic World. But they should have. That should have been the end of this franchise. You did a great reboot, don't do any more. But instead they carried it on and they kept making more movies. And I I'm not sure why. Like, whose idea was it to make this movie? Who thought it was a good idea to fund this movie? Who thought it was a good idea to, who thought it was a good idea to write locusts in this movie? Who thought it was a good idea to write certain lines of dialogue and just certain moments which is just so nonsensical? And like, the first moment we see Claire, Owen and, Maisie Lockwood all living in a house together, all in that cabin early in the movie, has some of the most unbelievably cringy dialogue I've ever seen in a film, period. Who thought that sort of dialogue in the movie was a good idea? I don't know. Probably Colin Trevorrow, who was a writer, co-writer, slash director of this film overall. And by the way, I said it before in my last review of this film, and this is my last point here, but Colin Trevorrow said this was a movie he always wanted to make. He said he knew he'd have to make Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom in order to make this film. And he didn't direct Jurassic World, and he didn't direct the second film, he didn't direct Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. He was a co-writer on that movie, but he was a co-writer in all three movies, and he said he'd have to make the first Jurassic World and the second Jurassic World in order to make this film, because it's the film he's always wanted to make. Wow! If this was the film he wanted to make, what was he doing with Jurassic World? Because this movie and Jurassic World roughly have the same premise. I don't mind about all that Barrows and secret facility stuff. I really don't. But don't make it the main draw of your film. Maybe have it like the last 20 minutes. I don't know, kind of like a calm down after all the big, exciting dinosaur action all over the world. Maybe do it like that, but don't have it as a main draw of the film. Oh, wait, it's not the main draw. They tricked us in the marketing. They tricked us in the trailer. The trailer indicated that dinosaurs would be roaming all over the earth and it'd be apocalyptic, but no, the trailers lied to us. And that annoys me. It really does, because this was my second most anticipated movie of the year. I said it before and I'll say it again. It was my second most anticipated movie of the year. But it's rubbish. It's rubbish. It's terrible. And it pains me to say that. It really does. And I'm not feeling well. But still, I'm going to say it anyway. It's a terrible film. It's one of the most disappointing films I've seen over the past couple of years. In fact, it probably is the most disappointing film I've seen over the past couple of years. It might be one of the most disappointing films I've seen ever, period. But overall, I really didn't like it. And it's the bottom of my rankings of all 6 Jurassic Park / Jurassic World movies. And overall, it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. And I really didn't get along with it. After watching it a second time, I will say I found it more enjoyable, but that's not saying much. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Jurassic World Dominion, after watching it a second time, I'm going to say that it's a 3 out of 10. I'm sticking with the same rating there because not much has changed on my thoughts on the film after watching it a second time. Like I said before, I did enjoy it a bit more a second time, but not much more, because the stakes still aren't there. There's no stakes in the movie. Characters don't die. And at the same time, though, the trailers lie to us. The trailers lie to us. This is not an expansive film. It's not an apocalyptic dinosaur movie. The CGI is pretty bad, in my opinion. The CGI is better in the first 2 Jurassic Park movies than it is in this movie. That's saying a lot, because the first 2 Jurassic Park movies were made in the 90s. The early 90s. Well, the first one was made in the early 90s. The second one was made in the late 90s. But still, the CGI in those movies was much better, in my opinion. And also, the film has suffocating, and I mean suffocating, fan service. It's got messy direction, it's got incoherent filmmaking, the action sequences feel lazy. Apart from that one sequence in Motor, which I keep going on about, because it's really the only sequence I liked in the film. And the characters are so badly written, so much of the film feels like fan fiction. And at the same time, though, Colin Trevorrow clearly didn't know he wanted to do this movie. Maybe plans changed because of COVID. I don't know. That's me purely speculating there. And hopefully I'm right. Hopefully the original idea for this movie was a big apocalyptic dinosaur movie. And hopefully they do make that film in the near distant future. But even if they do, I don't know if I'm going to be excited to watch it. I may watch that film in the future. I may watch like the next Jurassic film, 10, 15 years down the line. And I may watch and absolutely adore it. And I hope I do, but I'm not excited for that movie anymore. Even if it is an apocalyptic dinosaur movie, I'm not going to trust the marketing. And that's a shame. And I don't know why they did the original Jurassic Park idea all over again. And I don't know why they just repeated things they've already done. I don't know why no main characters died. Okay, the villain died, but okay, they brought back Dodgson. Why? To start off with, but still, he died, but we kind of expected that anyway. All the villains died. All the antagonists died in the Jurassic Park movies or Jurassic World movies, well, whatnot. All of the villains always die in these movies. So that's not unexpected, and it just, oh god. Everything annoys me in this movie. It really does, and I haven't been this frustrated with a movie in a very long time. But heck, it's 2022, and you know, here we are, because I've been getting quite frustrated with films recently, especially big franchise movies. Some big franchise movies I've loved, you know, The Batman I adore, Top Gun Maverick I really liked, and at the same time, though, I thought The Northman was great. I know The Northman's not a big franchise film, but I still thought that was great. Send the Phantom in the Open, and then some other movies which I really enjoyed recently, and the next time I go into cinema, I want to go there and really enjoy myself. But we'll have to wait and see, because, man alive, I did not like this film. I really did. And if you did, that's great. I'm so jealous if you like this movie. I really, really am. Even if you just thought it was dumb dinosaur fun. I am so jealous for you, because I wish I found that with this film. But I didn't. And I think it's the worst of the Jurassic movies. And that's saying a lot, because I think Jurassic Park 3 is an atrocity. And I'm not a huge fan of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I think it's got some really bad moments. But this has somehow managed to be the worst of the Jurassic films, in my opinion. Like I said before, my ranking is at number 1, The First Jurassic Park, number 2, The Lost World, number 3, Jurassic World, number 4, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, number 5, Jurassic Park 3, and number 6 is Jurassic World Dominion. Need I say more? No, because it's absolutely terrible. And that is kind of my thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion overall. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Jurassic World Dominion is a 3 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of Jurassic World Dominion? Please comment down below and know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please click down below and like subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more both film and TV reviews come very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!